So, so here we are again, and some people would say there's only 50 shopping days left to Christmas, but we're not going to start that way. So welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, November 5th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul Demain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. Here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. A federal appeals court says it will not review an appeals by a government prosecutors who want to try a Canadian man for a 1975 slaying on the Pine Ridge Reservation. John Graham of the Yukon Territory in Canada is one of two men and one woman now charged in the 1975 execution-style slaying of Anime Piktu-Akwash. Prosecutors say American Indian Movement leaders suspected that Akwash was a government informant and ordered her killed. A three-judge panel of the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals earlier upheld a lower court ruling that the government lacked jurisdiction on one of three counts against Graham because he is not considered to be an American Indian while in the United States. The 8th Circuit ruled on November 4th, said it would not grant a rehearing before the full appeals court. Graham and Richard Marshall of Rapid City are charged in federal court with murder and aiding and abetting in the death of Akwash. Graham and Thelma Rios of Rapid City also face state charges of taking part in the kidnapping and killing of Akwash, and Rios is scheduled to begin her trial in March of next year. If the U.S. government does not appeal the Graham decision to the U.S. Supreme Court, it is likely that both she and Graham will stand trial at the same time in March, and Marshall's trial is probably now due to be rescheduled in federal court as well. An 88-year-old convicted sex offender has asked a court to vacate his 1993 conviction because the two men he was accused of molesting as children have recanted their testimony. Douglas White, an American Indian spiritual leader from the Pine Ridge Reservation, has asked the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to order a re-examination of his 1993 aggravated sexual abuse conviction. White was accused of molesting two young boys, and the appeals court later upheld his conviction and sentence of more than 24 years in federal prison. White sought to have his case reheard, but U.S. District Judge Richard Batty ruled that White missed his one-year window after the first witness recanted his testimony earlier. White's attorney, Terry Pichota of Rapid City, South Dakota, argues that White couldn't have succeeded in getting his sentence overturned until both witnesses recanted, and that White filed his papers within 1 year of the second witness recanting in December of 2007. Foreclosure proceedings on the biggest business enterprise in Pelican, Alaska have stalled. Once and future owner Hopi Tribe Corporation planned to reacquire the Pelican Seafoods plant through a foreclosure last month, but the plant's potentially hazardous coolant has complicated the situation. To keep the ammonia contained, the freezers must be kept running, and no one wants to pay that expense. We're going to hold off on that indefinitely until the situation with the ammonia is complete, Hopi Tribal CEO Steve Malin told the Juneau Empire. Hopi Tribe bought the plant 70 miles west of Juneau, hoping to develop a resort there, but abandoned the plans years ago. An attempt at running the fish plant itself failed, and it was then sold in 2006 to Ed Bart and Associates of Sitka, Alaska. Bart, contacted by email, confirmed he still owns the nearly abandoned plant. When operating, it is the largest business in the community of 113 of Shishagaf Island, but it has only operated intermittently over the last several years. Besides the ammonia, the plant's freezers contain 60,000 pounds of old bait as well. Excuse me if I mispronounce these names, but we'll see what we can do here. According to this news release, Leroy Shingo Itiwa and Clark Tinaka Hungva were the two top vote getters Wednesday in the race to be chairman of the Hopi Tribe. They will face each other off in a November 18th general election, according to official results that were released today by Hopi officials. Herman Honani and Leroy Samutsakuku led the field over the vice chairman's position and also will battle it out in the general election according to the results that have now been accepted. Each position is for a 4-year term. The Lower Brule Sioux Tribe in South Dakota has been selected to receive a grant of $940,000 from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux community of Prior Lake, Minnesota. The money is for economic development and community infrastructure development. According to a release, most of the grant will help fund a new convenience store near the tribal government offices and housing area. Lower Brule officials say they hope the store can open up by the middle of next year. Also, Lakota Foods, owned and operated by the tribe, will get $100,000 for marketing and advertising. Lakota Foods markets popcorn and buffalo products from the 7,000-acre Lower Brule farm. The Aurora Fox Theater in Denver, Colorado will pay tribute to Native American Heritage Month on November 7th at noon. This is the kickoff event for the Colorado Folk Arts Consul's Cultural Concerts on Colfax series, a free monthly showcase of cultural concert offered November through May every year since 1996. The November show features Mexica dancers from, Chimoltanali, storyteller Tonali, and 7 Falls singers and dancers in an hour-long showcase of historic and cultural performances. Ironically, the call for a National Day of Recognition for Native American contributions to the U.S. began at the turn of the century. It took 84 years before an official proclamation came into being. In 1990, President George Bush approved a joint resolution designating November 1990 as National American Indian Heritage Month. Similar proclamations have now been issued every year since 1994. National American Indian and Alaskan Native Heritage Month is celebrated to recognize the intertribal cultures and to educate the public about the heritage, history, art, and traditions of American Indian and Alaska Native people. And finally, Ray Gon's Tarbells to Brooklyn and Back, a Mohawk's Journey, will air on PBS throughout the month of November as part of the festivities for Native American Heritage Month. Beginning on the 3rd, the film explores Tarbell's roots and traces the connections of her family to the once legendary Mohawk community of skilled iron workers who moved to New York in search of employment. And also, it was a great day watching the White House Tribal Nations Conference on the digital players that were embedded at a number of sites throughout Indian country. If you want to know what was discussed there, it was pretty much everything by the 400 delegates there who spoke with not only Obama, but several other cabinet officials. It was an exciting time for us because we exceeded some 400 viewers on our digital player in the News from Indian Country site as a live feed, and I watched the Twitter and Facebook operations as well. There was a number of Native people doing their Twitter feeds, and I'm sure in the next few days we're going to see lots of news stories about that conference. And that is the latest roundup of News from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us again. Miigwech.